Alina Habba, won't you just go away? I mean, seriously, she's beyond the bad penny at this point. We just need her to go away. Federal judges are telling her to go away. Chuck Grassley in the Senate is telling her to go away. Will you just go away? I mean, you ever have that annoying person in middle school or high school? Just go away. That's where we're at. Federal judge just ruled she's unlawfully appointed as the U.S. attorney for New Jersey. You know, as my somebody in my family would say, no crap, Sherlock. Something rhymes in there. And of course she's unlawfully appointed. Who's her boss? Who's her daddy? Who's her office husband? Donald Trump. Does he do anything that's not unconstitutional and unlawful? Not that I can see. And now she's, going on talk shows attacking other Republicans. What happened to I used to love the days of Ronald Reagan, even as a Democrat. The 11th commandment, thou shalt not bash and criticize other Republicans. Can't we go back to that? Yeah, but we cover it all on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, and Legal AF, the podcast, with Ben Meiselas and me. And here's a clip.
Have you ever had to say, I'm a legitimate lawyer? Just want to let you know, I'm not crazy. I'm not a hack. I'm one of those legit lawyers, Usually legit lawyers don't need to go around saying I'm not a hack. Well, here's Alina Habba. Let's play this video of her.
I'm not a political hack. I'm an attorney licensed in 4 states. I've been licensed by the Supreme Court of the United States, and I have practiced law for the better of 20 years and run law firms for most of 15 that have been extremely successful, despite what the Twitter trolls would like to say. So-called hack, so-called name calling is kind of beneath me, to be honest. I frankly would never despise somebody I've never even spoken to, but I assume he thinks he knows who I am. I'm a really accomplished attorney.
I'm a really accomplished attorney.
That's how I start all my interviews.
Name calling is beneath me. Name calling. Well,
she does. She lives.
But it's clearly beneath. Name calling and the Trump regime, I've never. But that's also why California Governor Gavin Newsom's strategy is so effective when he shines a mirror on what they're doing and they're like, why are you calling me names? The moment you go on the offense against these people, they're all like that, right? They're all like, what, you're doing name calling? Come on here. So, but somewhere along the line, as an overall society, and I'm not saying our viewers are fighters, but like at some point we let these losers take control. And it's like, why have we been accepting of their behavior? It's because Donald Trump was on The Apprentice. It's the craziest thing to me. But Popok, talk to us about this ruling that came from a judge from Pennsylvania sitting in designation and its import, because the fact that she's remained on despite her term being expired and her term not getting extended by the federal judges in New Jersey, which she then name calls them. Oh, they're leftist. She literally name calls them. It's now having an impact on the ability of law and order to actually be conducted. Let's talk about that. Then let's go to the Supreme Court NIH decision.
All right. Sounds great. The back to our audience or fighters. I caught something in social media where one of our followers fought back against being abused by a neighbor. She's an older audience member of ours, and posted the video clip under the line, "Thanks, Popok." So I guess we talk about stop taking crap and start fighting back. And I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally and using your First Amendment rights. So that I thought was funny. For Alina Habba, let's just talk about Alina Habba for one moment, please. She was a little known 3-person law office runner in a small town, not a major business center in New Jersey, called Bedminster. The only business it has is the Trump golf course. And she and her husband ran a very small law firm, which they did what I call door law. Anything that walks in the door, she did, including parking lot and parking garage representation, which can be very lucrative. People get, scrapes on their cars. They leave them, 3 extra days. They don't have the money to pay for them. But this is not what I would call consequential nationwide litigation of the highest order. Nobody ever heard of her. And I'm from New Jersey. And I had an office in New York for years. And so there's that. Her biggest success in her life, her only true success in her life, is that she made a beeline for Donald Trump on purpose at the Bedminster Golf Course, joined the golf club, and then try to ingratiate herself with him and rub elbows with him and try to handle some cases for him, including some that she's been accused of doing unethical things. No shock. That got her on his radar screen, including a couple of settlements. And then he started just dragging her along in her various cases. To say that for her to have to say to bowling, exclamation mark, whoever that is, some podcaster, that she's an accomplished lawyer. She's not even an accomplished lawyer for Donald Trump. She got fined $1 million along with Donald Trump by Judge Middlebrooks for the case that she filed a couple of years ago in federal court. She got fined and sanctioned for discovery abuse in the New York fraud case, which we'll talk about later, in which she lost a $463 million judgment. We'll talk about that in a minute. In New York, she lost not one, but two E. Jean Carroll cases. And E. Jean Carroll is now sitting on $100 million worth of judgments. She was involved with the team that lost the 34 felony count conviction of Donald Trump. So where are the accomplishments? Even for Trump, she's not accomplished. She's been failing up ever since. He tried to stash her at his PAC. And when that didn't work, then he decided to bring her in as a White House counselor, like she was some sort of Kellyanne Conway. And when that didn't work, he kicked her upstairs or across the river to put her in Jersey. And then rather than just be a temperate, professional, mature, accomplished lawyer, as she says she is, during her tryout period, because there's a period where she was given the acting job, which was probably a mistake by Donald Trump. He probably just should have stashed her away, nominated her. But no, he stuck her in the job. So she got a tryout. And all she did during the tryout, back to her, Philip Kowski called it the 6 lies in one sentence. One of the lies were that she's not a political hack. That's all she did was hack away. So first thing she does on a podcast as soon as she gets the job is, I'm going to turn the blue state of New Jersey red. Then she goes after and targets criminally the governor of the state, Democrat, the attorney general of the state, Democrat, the mayor of the largest city, Democrat, and the Representative LaMonica MacGyver, who's a congresswoman from New Jersey. And she got reprimanded by a federal magistrate judge for having brought charges originally against Mayor Baraka. That is in 120 days. Okay. That's like the old joke about, talking to Mrs. Lincoln and she gives you the whole story about what happened. And somebody says, great, but how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Right. That was 120 effing days. And so was there any shock when her 120 days was up by statute? She then asked, pretty please, can I stay in the job longer? And the 21 federal judges in New Jersey all uniformly said no. And they, under the statute, appointed somebody who was qualified, the number 2 in the office, a career prosecutor. And she had the job for less than 24 hours because Donald Trump started this whole, 16 steps to try to keep his office wife in the job. Well, I'm going to make her own assistant. And then I'm going to elevate her after I fire the person that the court put in. And then, well, that didn't work. Well, then I'll make her a special attorney under the Constitution with all the powers, but not all the powers, but most of the powers of being the U.S. attorney for New Jersey. That didn't work. And so finally, one of many criminal defense lawyers in New Jersey filed a motion in his criminal defense case for a gun and drug case called Gerard, in which he filed a motion to disqualify Alina Habba. And that's what we're talking about. It was brought by a criminal defendant. Now, because the 21 federal judges all ruled against her and voted against her, they were all effectively disqualified from hearing this motion, the motion to disqualify her, dismiss indictments, right? Call her invalidly appointed and all of that. And we all looked at it and was like, you and I were like eating popcorn, like, is this going to work? Because I had known about some case law and some arguments about something that happened similarly. And I'm thinking, it's about 50-50, but I'm in it. Whatever you're laying down, I'm picking up. Let's go. So it gets assigned because there's no judge in Jersey, goes up to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals chief judge, who appoints somebody from within the circuit but outside of Jersey. So it lands on Chief Judge Brand of the Middle District of Pennsylvania. Okay, he was an Obama appointee, but he's pretty middle of the road. You would not call Judge Brand in the Middle District of Pennsylvania a firebrand, no pun intended, liberal. Okay, he gets it. He goes through all the pleadings and he says, yeah, I have the motions. He goes, yeah, she was unlawfully appointed, because he laid it out quite succinctly. This is what you get to do as president. You get to nominate somebody. You got 120 days to get them confirmed by the Senate. If they don't get confirmed by the Senate and their term doesn't get extended by the court, then that person is out and can't be put back in as acting interim, whatever, while you go get somebody else. And the person that stays in the job until you can get somebody nominated and confirmed is going to be picked by the judges. That's it. That's the Federal Vacancy Act. That's the statute related to to U.S. attorney filling, and that's the Constitution. And that's it. And all this other stuff that you did, where she's the special attorney, but she doesn't have all the powers of a U.S. attorney, but she does have all the powers, none of that's going to fly here. And I disqualify her. I disqualify everybody working under her. I disqualify anybody that tries to do an end run around this order. They're disqualified. And good day. Now there's complete chaos in the fifth largest federal district in America, with judges like Judge Salas just yesterday said, in response to a motion by one of a completely unrelated defendant, to say, why am I getting sentenced by an unlawful U.S. attorney? I questioned, by the way, during that interview with Bowling, what office she was sitting in. It looked a lot like an office in Newark that the U.S. attorney would sit in. So she's still sitting there as the acting whatever. And the sentencing, and the lawyer said, postpone the sentencing. There is no U.S. attorney proper. And Judge Salas, Esther Salas, said, I agree. And the Department of Justice rushed in with, but no, there's other deputies and assistants. And she says, no, I'm not buying that. Go work this out. You don't have a U.S. attorney. I'm not sentencing.
Yep.
Trials have been postponed. Sentencings have been postponed. And now what I've read and what I've heard is that they actually have to have Todd Blanche, who was her co-counsel when they were criminal defense lawyers for Donald Trump, take time out of being the number 2 in the Department of Justice in Washington to sign motions and pleadings and indictments, even down to the misdemeanor level. So like, criminal littering or whatever in Jersey. He's got to now, she needs a co-signer. He now has to co-sign for her to avoid any more arguments in court by other defendants that this is invalid and dismiss my indictment. So apparently he has nothing better to do anyway, which is actually, there's a silver lining to this. The more time he spends going on interviews of convicted sex predators and having to sign misdemeanors in New Jersey, it's the less time he has to really focus on his job properly and do all of the terrible things that Donald Trump, who got quoted this week as reminding everybody that he is the chief law enforcement officer, because they, do you know about the raid? The raid of John Bolton? Well, I am the chief law enforcement officer. So Pam Bondi again shrinks again. Confirming there is no independent Department of Justice. This is what all federal judges have observed. There is no independent FBI. And Todd Blanche is busy trying, like the boy at the dike, trying to put his hand in with all of these holes that spring up. And he's not doing a very good job. But that's how bad things have gotten. As Alina Habba goes on, it's not an apology tour, the victim tour. I saw one with Hannity. I don't know if we have the clip of it. I saw one with Hannity where she said, this is just another, leftist activist judge that nobody voted for. I'm supported by the President of the United States and Pam Bondi. He got 100 million votes. I'm barely saying this. He got 100 million votes, and we always win. This is what she said, effing Ben, legal. We always win, just like in New York. I was like, can we insert vomit here?
Well, here's the thing too.
Do they always win? I don't think so.
No, they don't. But here's the thing. This shouldn't be a Democrat Republican thing. The interim United States attorney who should be in that place is a lifelong Republican, competent, qualified person who can do the job. But that's who they've now fired and pushed out so Alina Habba can engage in these shenanigans. We're all less safe as a result of all this stuff, of all this performative stuff. The FBI and DOJ they're not investigating the terrorism cases like they used to, and the sex trafficking cases, and the real threats to our homeland are being foregone so that they can arrest migrants in parking lots of the Home Depots and things like that. But here's the thing. Alina Habba, the bar is so low with this Trump regime that if Alina Habba just went in there and conducted herself just as a professional for that period, just went in there and behave, and just prosecuted the bad guys, people would have been like, whoa, and she would have been able to stay on. But to your point, she goes in there and just behaves like a maniac because she is. I mean, Donald Trump behaves like a sexual predator, a fraud, a felon, and all of these, because he is. And these people, they get into these positions. It was like what Obama said. When you get into the presidency, it amplifies who you are and exposes it even more. It doesn't tamp it down. So all these people get these positions and they remind us why they don't have the temperament, moral character, decision-making skills to hold these positions.
Welcome back. I founded Legal AF, the podcast, 5 years ago. Hard to believe. We are now top 15 or so in the YouTube rankings for all podcasts. It's crazy. That's cuckoo crazy. That's all because of you. We literally would not do this without you, obviously, and we're glad you're here with us. In addition, you can help support what we do. Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, midweek and weekend edition, Legal AF, the podcast. Join us there. We cover topics. We cover all sorts of cutting edge legal topics, but make them easily digestible and hopefully entertaining. And then if you're a watcher, watch us on YouTube, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're, or the commercial-free versions on the Legal AF Substack. If you're an audio person, watch. If you're a watcher, listen. All that helps the algorithms and keeps us in the top 50. We'd like to be higher, of course, in the audio versions and top 20 or 15 in the video versions, all because of you. Now we're building a new community with your help. Legal AF Substack. Wow. That allows me to do something I've never been able to do on YouTube, which is kind of immediacy of live streaming. Look, when I'm on the Midas Touch Network, there's other contributors. Ben does a lot of videos. I got to get in there somehow on Legal AF, even on Legal AF YouTube. I've got a lot of contributors. I can't just pull everybody together and go, cancel the programming. I want to talk on Legal AF Substack. I can just push a live button and boom, twice a day or so, we're talking to each other at the minute, at the market about something that's just developed that I think you need to know. I pulled together a huddle of 2,000, 3,000 people on a moment's notice. And that's a testament to the quality and the commitment of our audience. So follow Legal AF, the podcast. Get on Legal AF Substack. Become a member. Become a paid member if you can. That really helps. That pays for all the things that go into production and making sure you get the content that you're entitled to, and help us with Legal AF, the podcast, and continuing to grow that. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.